Go ahead.
Yeah, so the topic for my presentation today is going to be on precision medicine. I chose a more dramatic title just to kind of grab your attention, but also kind of for the opportunity to explore a future where both AI and precision medicine have the potential to redefine healthcare altogether. So here's a brief overview of the presentation. So we'll start off with a little bit of the history as well as defining what it is. Then I'll kind of introduce some current applications and so that we can understand how the technology has proceeded today. And then the bulk of the presentation will be focused on sort of speculations for the future and how precision medicine has the potential to change our current structure. So before we can start addressing anything, we need to start by answering a very simple question. What even is precision medicine? By definition, it's an approach to healthcare that tailors treatments to individuals' unique genetic makeup, lifestyle, as well as environmental influences. Unlike the traditional one-size-fits-all approach, precision medicine leverages data, and this is specifically big data, to create very personalized plans. Here's a brief timeline of precision medicine. So the idea of a personalized treatment was never new. Even back in the day when people believed that being sick is some sort of supernatural power casting a spell on you, doctors at the time still understood the importance of tailoring herbal remedies according to individual symptoms and responses. But true precision medicine as we know it today emerged from genetics and genomics. So in 2003 was when the Human Genome Project was complete. That was the first time scientists were able to map out the entire human genome and to understand how genes and genetics are able to predispose certain individuals to the higher likelihood of having a certain disease. This is an achievement that overall transformed our understanding of diseases altogether. Then around 2015, the US government under President Barack Obama introduced the Precision Medicine Initiative, which aimed to revolutionize healthcare by providing the right treatment to the right person at the right time. And so this kind of marked an era where medicine became increasingly data-driven and focused on individual variability rather than treating everybody the same. But the important thing is that it wasn't just government initiatives. The rise of big data, cloud computing, as well as artificial intelligence accelerated the field even more. So suddenly researchers could be able to analyze vast amounts of data, making it very easy to identify novel biomarkers, predict disease possibly before its onset, as well as tailoring therapies to individuals with precision. Precision medicine is constantly evolving. As I described the timeline, you might notice that the focus is on genetics, but if you remember from the previous definition, it's incredibly important to also consider the influence of environment as well as lifestyle choices. And that kind of introduces the topic of epigenetics, which is defined by changes in gene expressions that occurs without alterations to the DNA itself. But it kind of hints the fact that environment and life choices can also equally influence how genes are expressed. So the first application we're going to discuss today is wearable devices. This is arguably the most common type of application for precision medicine we have today. And modern wearables like fitness trackers or smart watches offer real-time monitoring of heart rate, blood oxygen levels, your activities, your sleep cycle, as well as things like irregular heart rhythms. So these tools are already enhancing care by enabling early detection as well as chronic disease management. Current technologies on the market actually do a decent job. So if we look at some of the features of newer models of the Apple Watch, for example, and see how it can contribute to the future of healthcare. So the first thing is heart rate monitor. This is pretty self-explanatory. Once the watch detects abnormally low or abnormally high heart rate, a report will be sent to the user. The second feature is a built-in ECG app that regulates irregular heartbeats and contributes to the diagnosis of atrial fibrillation. So currently, the disease is diagnosed with a combination of physical exams, medical history, as well as, most importantly, a Holter monitor, which is a portable ECG device that is attached onto the patient for 1 to 2 days. And everywhere you go, you have to carry that. With this new feature in the Apple Watch, it could potentially replace this device altogether, kind of eliminating some of the discomforts associated with having a machine attached to you. And the thirdly, fall detection is pretty important for the elderly population as well. So once you become unresponsive for more than a minute, the watch is able to kind of call your emergency contact without you asking it to do so. Then final thing is the medical ID, which allows first responders as well as emergency room clinicians to access your most basic medical information, such as allergies or medications that you're taking, any pre-existing conditions you might have, as well as organ donation preferences, without having to log into your phone or access any of your medical records. There's other features too, like menstrual cycle predictions, as well as the ability to design custom apps for medical researchers within the open source framework. So these are some of the key features that wearable devices are capable of nowadays. In the near future, AI-driven wearables could go beyond monitoring actively to manage health, but more so as a preventative measure as well. So imagine a wearable that's able to analyze your vitals, your genetic information, and the environment to predict disease. So if we look at diabetes, for example, if you were a diabetic patient, it might be able to kind of monitor your blood sugar, predict some of your spikes, as well as administer insulin automatically. We've already discussed quite extensively throughout the course in terms of the ethical concerns of being constantly monitored. So I won't belabor this point, but it's important to keep some of this points in our mind as well as we go through these topics. The second thing is genetic testing. This is also a very key application in precision medicine, and it's a technology that analyzes DNA to identify changes or mutations that may cause a certain disease, or allow doctors to understand patients' genetic predisposition to certain conditions. So commercially available genetic tests like 23andMe or Ancestral DNA offers insights accessible to the public like you and me, and this kind of offers kind of a little bit of curiosity towards our own biology, whether that be our heritage or our genetic composition. During these tests, not all DNA is actually examined. Human DNA is actually 99.9% identical, and so we only look at certain specific areas that contain useful information. So it's important to recognize that genetic testing in of itself represents a probability, not necessarily a certainty, because of the complex nature of epigenetics like we discussed previously. The other thing is precision medicine is able to leverage genetic testing and tailoring treatments at an individual level. This approach is especially valuable in cancer care, where genetic testing allows identifying specific mutations within our genes for tumors. So by targeting these genetic changes, doctors can prescribe therapies that directly attack cancer cells while minimizing damage to the nearby healthy tissue. So if, for instance, patients with non-small cell lung cancer have an EGFR receptor mutation, and the medication targets this specific mutation is called osimertinib, and so being able to find out which gene is mutated and prescribing very direct medication is definitely good for the patient in that sense. So this kind of key component of precision medicine is known as pharmacogenomics, which examines how genetic variation can influence a patient's response to these medications. Overall, other important things to consider is also the variation in drug metabolism. We know that the gut microbiome incredibly is diverse across people, and so certain compositions within our gut influences how we process medication as well as how fast we metabolize that. Overall, by integrating genetic insights into clinical decision making, precision medicine is able to improve drug efficacy, minimize trial and error prescribing, and overall makes it more safe for the patient. Current applications, though, are not perfect. So we might be able to predict how patients respond to certain drugs at a genetic level and optimize prescriptions or dosages, but the problem is that we still use technology like this to keep track of our medications. And in some cases, if you take more than one drug, your pill box could look something more like this. Of course, these technologies are also constantly evolving. There's like smart pill caps now, or notification apps that are able to send you a notification to remind you. But what if we have just one pill that's kind of tailored to all your needs? So that brings me very smoothly to the speculations for the future. The idea of a one pill for everything, or one medication that encompasses many different types of medication, is known as a polypill. This idea isn't exactly novel either because we already have a very primitive version of this. If you shop for over-the-counter cold medication, for example, you'll notice that your typical Tylenol not only helps with pain management, but also handles things like headaches and sneezing, coughing, so on and so forth. So when we talk about a futuristic polypill, we're talking about a more advanced medication that's tailored to your own physiological biomarker standards. A useful application of this can be used to treat or prevent cardiovascular disease. If you're familiar with cardiovascular diseases, there's several risk factors associated, things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, blood clots, and many more. And so the polypill has many benefits, and it seems to solve some of the problems that we might see with drug adherence, targeted risk reduction because it's going to be personalized to you, as well as just overall cost effectiveness because you're only having to take one pill instead of multiple. In an optimized polypill, there should be a wide range of customizations that not only works towards your physical health but also your emotional and mental health. This could mean that the polypill could incorporate mental and emotional health support, like including like sleep regulation compounds or even nutritional support like probiotics. The other thing is that by taking the pill, potentially all inflammation or cellular stress or any deviations from your own physiological standard could be prevented altogether before symptoms even arise. And so the final thing I wanted to remind everyone of is we call this a polypill, but this doesn't necessarily need to take form in a pill. We've seen the potential with nanotechnology and how it's possible to administer or deliver drugs directly through the bloodstream as well. So, the second idea I wanted to explore is bioprinting. It's a technology that 3D prints tissues and organs using bioinks made of cells, growth factors, as well as biomaterial altogether. So, at first, bioprinting may seem like more of an engineering feat as opposed to necessarily a precision medicine breakthrough, but it has the potential to revolutionize medicine altogether, particularly by tackling one of the most important challenges in transplantation, which is the shortage of compatible organs. So currently, the greatest barrier for transplant patients is not just finding a donor, but more importantly, it's finding a donor that is both genetically and anatomically compatible to your own body. So precision medicine has the potential to change this by ensuring that bioprinted organs are customized to an individual's genetic profile and fits very nicely within their body, which dramatically decreases the risk of rejection and improves transplant success rate. If we're able to keep a detailed record of patients' anatomy and physiology, bioprinting could one day produce tissues and organs that are exact replicas of your own, but of course are defect-free. The ultimate vision for bioprinting is to fabricate fully functional, transplantable organs like kidneys, livers, or hearts. And this would eliminate organ shortages, reduce transplant wait times, as well as save millions of lives worldwide. The last idea I wanted to leave you with is the concept of a predictive genome. So by integrating genomic sequencing, environmental data, as well as AI, all topics that we've previously discussed, precision medicine is moving towards a future where diseases are not only treated early, but more importantly, they're prevented altogether. AI will play a very crucial role in this transformation by analyzing vast amounts of genetic as well as lifestyle data to identify subtle risk factors for diseases long before symptoms arise. For example, certain genes might suggest a high likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease, but as we know, genetics alone don't tell a full story, and so AI can incorporate factors like diet or exercise, even pollution exposure as well as stress levels, to redefine these predictions with incredible accuracy. In the future, patients can expect to receive weather forecasts, but more so tailored towards health. So these are regularly updated reports predicting which diseases they're more likely to develop and when. So AI detects early markers of diabetes, for example, and it might suggest dietary changes or exercise routines before your blood sugar level begins to increase. Currently, medicine is mostly reactive, so we wait for symptoms to arise and then we deal with them. But with precision medicine and the power of AI-driven genomic prediction, we could be shifting towards a more proactive approach where instead of simply treating diseases by after they arise, we might be able to delay their onset, reduce their severity, and prevent them entirely. In summary, the future of precision medicine in an AI-driven world will be centered around hyper-personalized preventative treatment plans, where AI will analyze genetics, lifestyle, as well as environmental factors in real time, which allows for dynamic and evolving treatments to be tailored to each individual. However, there are still significant challenges in a future dominated by AI, and we've talked about many of these challenges already. The biggest concern to most people is probably the loss of human connection. So what happens to empathy and patient-doctor relationship if AI becomes the leading force in healthcare? There might also be a dependency on AI, as well as just overall ethical dilemmas of who is holding who accountable. All these challenges are related to the role that humans play in this new era, and we could probably all agree that AI should be used more so as a tool to kind of support healthcare professionals, and that solitude can be appreciated, especially by young people, when it comes to the emphasis of disconnecting from AI and developing some of those critical problem-solving skills by ourselves. And this not only applies to healthcare issues, but also more so on a societal level as well. So these are my references, and thank you.
So, any questions?
In terms of, I really like the weather forecasting concept. That was really cool to visualize and just imagine. But sometimes the weather forecast is now, it's not that
Accurate, yeah.
accurate, right? Do you think with the advancement of AI and technology that our personalized weather forecast would be always precise, or do you think there would there would be the possibility of having that oh, it was supposed to rain today but it didn't rain today, or oh, I don't know, I was supposed to catch a cold next week. Where is my cold? That kind of concept. I'm just curious on your take. Not that there is a right or wrong.
No, yeah, I think that's a really good question, because weather forecasts aren't accurate, but if there's sufficient data, I think we could be looking at a future where it is always accurate. And yeah.
As a predictive model, eh?
Yeah, as a predictive model, but also more so if you're able to kind of take proactive approaches, that then the symptoms or your cold will actually never come.
So, you can think about the consequence of taking this course. Does it mean that you're a pushover for AI? Or could one of you be the, refusenik who says all the other people are uploading their minds, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to live in the way that people respected in the past, and that sort of thing. And right now we can't imagine what advantage there would be to being a refusenik, but there might be something, that those people end up having access to that the other people don't. So yeah, it's a really interesting world to contemplate. Yeah, and I think that just as the exam question says, that physicians will remain employed for a long time, not because people will still get sick, but because they know the most about how to enhance humans. And everybody will want to be enhanced in some way, not necessarily physical, but moral, spiritual, there are all sorts of enhancements that you could want. And then once you do that a little bit, you might want more and more and more and more, right? Once you're a little bit spiritual, you want to be a lot more, and so on, yeah. So,
I have a question. Don't you think that the proactive style can cause people to overreact? There are people that might get too tensed about, hypochondriac people, for example, and be like, oh no, I can get a cold, or oh no, I can get everything else.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Like, I know a fun fact off the top of my head that like prostate cancer screening is actually one of the highest like misdiagnosed like diseases, just because people tend to overreact because, oh, I have to go screen if I have prostate cancer, but then they don't, and then they get misdiagnosed as they do. That's definitely a possibility. Yeah, I don't know what would.
Yeah,
be
you
my
sort
solution.
of reach a point where you make that decision, am I going to pursue this or not? Because, for instance, PSA levels are practically worthless, or there's something you can follow, and you know, and then when your PSA goes up, your behavior then changes and so on. So you can do yourself a lot of damage by maybe treating things that in your whole life wouldn't harm you at all, just sort of silently occurring and would never create any problems for you. But because you're looking into it so intensely, you know, you can actually make yourself sick. So primary care physicians spend a lot of time explaining that to the patient. You know, we can get your PSA done every month or once every 10 years, you know, sort of up to you. You know. And it's not just men, it's also women. So it's
Yeah.
sort of comparable things.
I don't have a solution to that problem, unfortunately.
But I was curious
Yeah.
because I think that for sure it's better to be proactive than
Mhm.
reactive.
Yeah.
But it's the same problem every time when you want to introduce this kind of technological improvements and progress, and then you have to think a way to balance it.
Yes,
So
that's very true.
You mentioned about a wearable device for atrial fibrillation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also have another one here. This is a tech device which is connected to your phone and called Cardia. So you can basically detect the atrial fibrillation from this, keeping your hands by this. Because single lead ECGs, if the phone is giving you, like if the smartwatch is giving, like showing the atrial fibrillation, it's not 100% accurate because it should go through the heart, like 2 lead, at least it should be like 2 lead ECG. So as a result, like if the Apple Watch says that we have paroxysmal kind of AFib, then people buy this, then with fingers like this, then the phone will get the notification and it will alarm the electrocardiophysiologist. Yeah, it's in Alberta.
Where did you get that from? That's so cool.
So I came to University of Alberta to learn cardiology. Now I'm doing something else. So I was very enthusiastic. So I bought this. This is on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
There are like 2-3 devices. This is generation 1. This only gives you atrial fibrillation, not myocardial infarctions. This is I think $80. If you want like to get more diagnosis, like SVTs and all, there's a device for $120. Same thing.
Oh,
You just have to like place your 2 fingers. It gives you whether it's normal, tachycardic. Like my one is a very basic one. It gives you 3 diagnoses. If it's normal, or you have a tachycardia, like increased heart rate or atrial fibrillation.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Because I remember the Holter device, what it does is it's actually like pads that you connect to your phone,
Yeah.
and then it's like a bulky little thing that you have to carry with you. So
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Okay, so I'm going to leave, and when you do the spot evaluation, it's the first time in the history of the course that we've ever done this. And because there's so few of us, there's not going to be a very detailed result. What you do just leads to a commentary that I get. But still, it's kind of cool that we're able to do it. And tomorrow you'll receive the evaluation form that we've always used in the past. So please also fill that out. It's much more detailed. It allows you to rate every lecturer and every session and that sort of thing.